Hey YouTube, welcome back to our channel. My name is Elena.
And I'm Bjorn.
And we are Viking Age reenactors and living historians here to talk with you about your favorite Viking shows.
We've finally made it to the season finale of Ragnarok Season 2. And I have no idea what's going to happen, but I bet it's going to be great.
So it's called All You Need Is Love.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't feel like that's fitting for this lead up. Finally. So we've finally gotten to Mjolnir. Yeah, I mean, essentially, as they kind of said, it was the most powerful weapon that the Aesir had in their arsenal. It's essentially like a weapon of mass destruction, just in the Viking Age. It was like the most feared thing that the Aesir had, and it's the reason why Thor was like so powerful and why all the giants and everybody were like afraid of him.
Exactly.
Because he brought destruction with said hammer.
Of note, he also had a pair of gloves and a belt that also helped him wield the hammer because it was such a powerful weapon to have.
Yeah, the belt essentially doubled his strength, and the gloves allowed him to wield Mjolnir effectively. We don't really know the reason for why he would need the gloves. I think there's been a couple points made of because it contained like the power of lightning within the hammer. It was like hot to the touch, so the gloves allowed him to like grip it and use it without having to get burned or anything.
Right.
Which might have been a little bit of like the Marvel origin of, you know, you have to be worthy to wield the hammer.
That's true.
Yeah, and because it weighed so much and everything, the belt doubled his strength, which allowed him to wield it a lot easier and also made him all the more powerful. The hammer itself was a gift. He didn't always have Mjolnir to begin with. So it's this long string of chained events, but essentially it all started with Loki cutting off Sif's hair, Thor's wife, and it could only have been Loki.
Of course it was Loki.
If anybody's been watching Loki on Disney Plus, just a fun little Easter egg. You get a portion of the story there. But essentially, to make up for him cutting off Sif's hair, Loki had to make up for that and fix it and make it no longer an issue. So he went to the dwarves, who basically said that they could spin her new hair out of gold, essentially. And along with that, they made other gifts for the gods too. And Loki, kind of taking these gifts, was like, haha, this is amazing. There's no better craftsmen or blacksmiths or dwarves ever in the land. And these two other dwarves, Sindri and Brock, overheard him. And they were like, nah, we can do better. And he was like, okay, well, put your money where your mouth is. And so these two brothers kind of worked the forge together to create these magical, amazing gifts for the gods. But Loki, not wanting to lose a bet, transformed himself into like a gadfly. And so as Sindri would work the bellows to heat the material up and everything and get it to the working point, Loki would turn to a gadfly and like sting him to try to distract him from his work because he wasn't supposed to let up. And the first two attempts, it wasn't enough. So they were able to make Gullinbrusti, which was golden bristle. It's a golden boar for Freyr, and Gleipnir, the magical arm ring that duplicates itself every 9 days for Odin. And then the last thing they made was Mjolnir, this hammer for Thor. And when Brock went out to do his magical business, and Sindri was working the bellows, Loki stung him like in the forehead, essentially, like right in the top of the eye, so that it bled into his eye and blinded him partially, and it caused Sindri to kind of let up on the bellows and force him to stop. And so because of that, when they forged the actual hammer itself, it ended up having a handle too short, so that it did have like a fatal flaw in it, but it wasn't enough to be a problem. It still functioned perfectly fine. It just had a shorter handle than previously desired. Yeah, and then the gifts were given to the gods, and it was found to be acceptable and Loki lost.
Yeah, that's actually out of the entire story, I think the ending is my favorite part because Brock and Sindri were promised Loki's head if they were to win the bet, which they did. So after Loki presented all the gifts to the gods and Brock and Sindri caught up to him, they were just like, well, we made the gifts as needed, so we get to have your head. At which point Loki looked at them and went, but I didn't promise you my neck. Therefore, you cannot harm my neck to get to my head. And they, in true dwarf fashion, just got annoyed and were like, all right, we're sewing your mouth shut.
Yep.
So they sewed his mouth shut and went on their way.
Yeah, I think kind of Thor advocated for him too a little bit, didn't he?
I don't remember.
I think I've heard some tales where like Thor also advocates to make sure and kind of be the judge of like, no, that's too much of his neck. Oh no, that's not enough of his head. No, you got it. And like just kind of arguing back and forth. And so yeah, in typical fashion, they just got fed up bullshit and we're like, you know what? Amendment to the deal. I'm gonna sew your mouth shut.
So he can't spin his lies.
Exactly. So he got to keep his head, and then all the Aesir laughed at Loki because he couldn't talk.
Vi må bryte oss inn på YouTube Industries. Det er en evig EU. Og der må hammeren spise. Det eneste vi mangler, en dverg.
En dverg?
Here's the thing, they didn't even like wake him up to any like glorious purpose. They just took him with them, and meanwhile he's just like, this is illegal, guys.
Yeah. They just like coerced him to go along with their like extremist environmentalism. Yeah. He has no idea what's going on. He just thought they were being activists.
Ooh.
Nei. Vi skal protestere. Vi får nok. Folk er jo dritsure for de uttrykker gjør det samme. Vi skal inn og henge opp et banner hvor det står fuck gutter.
Det henger vannet oppe.
Yeah, so in the end, I guess, Magna didn't exactly lie to Laurits. They did hang up a banner.
I mean, well, listen. They hung up a banner in hindsight to cover their ass. Like,
yeah, I mean,
to distract. It's just so intentionally manipulating the truth of it, you know?
Yeah.
It's like not even a white lie. It's just a half truth.
Yeah.
It's bullshit. But whatever needs to get done, so it is what it is. I don't know. I really do think that Laurits still would have kind of gone along with him a little bit, maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's the whole thing about these types of situations. When you omit things or lie about things, then obviously people turn on you. Whereas like if you're straightforward about it, there's a bigger chance that they're just gonna trust you and go along with you.
Yeah, exactly. And especially here because like Laurits has just been fucked over this entire season. He's just been like manipulated and outcast and lied to and betrayed, and then like
I just want to bundle him up and like give him a pint of ice cream or something and just let him sit.
My God. What a sweet little boy. He just needs help, that's all. He just wants some love. He just needs somebody to love. Yeah.
And he just keeps getting kicked around constantly by everybody.
And like literally too. Gets kicked around. Such a little baby flame.
That's it. So I remember before we were kind of theorizing that the flame that's in the Udel's house, is sort of like the top of the flame that is deep in the mountain. It really doesn't seem like that because the flame that's deep in the mountain is tiny. Yeah,
no, I mean like their house is up here and like the industry is over down by the water. So yeah totally wrong.
You like see like some kind of like a fire wind tunnel.
Yeah, it's a red herring. It's a distraction. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting that it has the whole forge set up there already.
Yeah, it makes you wonder like what its original purpose was. If it was something that was used way back when, maybe it was like an old Asir thing that the Jotnar took over. Maybe they just used it 1,000 years ago and just built their factory around it so that nobody else could get to it. I mean, it's
That's what I'm kind of figuring.
Yeah.
Clearly, there is a reason why they built the factory on top of it. But maybe with the lack of dark elves around, they couldn't really forge any new old weapons or anything like that they would have wanted. So it just kind of went unused for however many years, hundreds of years.
I guess.
But it's kind of interesting that it's definitely still there. It's definitely still going. And
Yeah, somebody's still feeding coals into that every day.
yeah. And they have a whole forge set up and everything just so that they can basically just get down there and do their work.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, definitely. It raises a couple questions as to why they've been alive for thousands of years and not one of them thought to take a blacksmithing course. This is like a legitimate forge.
Yeah.
I like it. I did like the setup because it was like a proper old-fashioned like dark age setup with kind of it's all like raised up onto this one kind of like big table-y section, but it was essentially just like all the coals around it with the hearth fire right there, and they had the heat sink stone, and then like the bellows kind of set into place with it all. So it was a beautiful dark age smithy setup.
Yeah. There we go.
Just gotta hold them off for a while.
They must have been fighting for hours for them to be able to forge the hammer.
or the mechanic is just real quick, like yeesh. I mean with that little lump that they started with, they wouldn't have gotten that much material out of it.
Yeah.
Unless like every time it gets hit by a hammer, it like doubles in quantity. You know, like that's just silly. But
Så du kan fly. Alltid kom tillbaka till mig. Så du kan känna din fiende.
I do like the little additions that they added in with the arrowhead as a little bit of that older weapon material, so they can like imbue it with the properties of that, and then like the feathers so that it can fly and return and stuff like that. It was a nice little factor. We didn't really know the magic that went into actually making Mjolnir, so I liked seeing their rendition of it.
Yes, exactly. It's one of those things that sometimes gets overlooked in that myth is while Sindri is working the bellows, Brock is out there collecting all sorts of magic. And I think it can safely say that it's the same type of magical properties that sometimes show up in other myths, like the what was it, like the footsteps of a cat, or just like these like very random things that you don't.
Roots of a mountain.
Yeah.
Fish's breath. Yeah.
So yeah. I kind of always just kind of imagined it like that.
Same.
Things
Same
that
here.
you don't normally think about, that's just like very mystical.
Yeah, very esoteric.
Det går fint, vi måste bara skaffa det, okej?
Oh, look at that.
Nej, den är ju för kort. Nej, perfekt.
And in a way, there was a little bit of that nod of the two, not dwarves in this case, it was Tyr and a dwarf. But even though Loki wasn't involved and it wasn't Brock and Sindri specifically that was making it, the handle still came out short because they got distracted.
Yeah.
By Fjord, but they still
Exactly.
got distracted.
Exactly, which is just it's such like a brilliant way to do it that wraps it into their story too, and kind of keeps it in tandem with events in the actual mythology. Like it didn't happen exactly as it did in the myth, but it still like matches up kind of perfectly. It was a very clever way of doing it.
Yeah.
Despite that, just being a normal guy, he like went along with everything and like tried, and then was like really upset. He's like, "Oh no, the handle's too short." And I was like, "No, buddy, don't worry. Don't you know the myth? It's fine. It's what's supposed to happen.
You did good.
You did real good. You did real good, pal. It's okay." crude, but it works. Come on, man. He's feisty, I like it.
I love that shot
That was
so
great.
much.
It would have been better if he like kept the excess material that they used for the handle and just started like swinging at him, like busting kneecaps and stuff. It would have been awesome.
I just love his yelling down the parking lot.
Yeah, just antagonizing them all. Oh,
All right, which one of you is gonna hit the ground first? Oh.
Tyr is finally starting to look like Tyr. He might not act like him yet, but he is at least starting to look like him.
I was so not expecting that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, for a second I thought it was because like he was partially out the door. I thought so. He just cut him in half or like cut off his head, and I was like, "Whoa, what?" He just murdered him. Oh wait, no, it's Tyr. It had to have just been his hand. It was an interesting way for him to lose the hand. Again, it's not hand in hand. Pardon the pun. It's not hand in hand with the mythology because Fenrir didn't bite it off.
Exactly.
But he still ended up losing it.
Does it seem like it got bigger? Seems like it got bigger.
Was he ever like a lefty in this? Because originally in the mythology, Tyr lost his right hand,
Right.
and that it was intentional because he was a righty. You know.
And then he had to use his left hand after
Yeah,
that.
in the mythology, he even went to put his left hand in Fenrir's mouth, and Fenrir was like, "No, your right hand. Your right hand. I want to make sure that this is not just like, oh yeah, I lost my left hand, but whatever."
Yeah, I don't know if we ever get the sense that he's a lefty. Has he signed anything? And like, have we seen him?
I haven't really been paying attention to it. It's not really something I look for.
Well, because even when he was forging the hammer, he was doing so with his right hand. So I have to say that he's a right-handed man.
Yeah. Well,
God.
If he wasn't before, he definitely is now.
Bursdagsbarn, kommer du?
Har du bursdag?
Ja, fylt 18 faktisk.
Gratulerer med dagen.
No. Do you think Signy is Sigyn? Or do you think she's more Sif?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
It's hard to tell because she's clearly got the hots for Magna, but her name makes me think of Sigyn.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a reference to it. And it could just be a thing with that name anyways. I mean, just on a very literal sense, Sif had blonde hair even before she had gold hair. Mm-hmm. She was a blonde. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's too early to tell because all we really know is that she's a teenage girl and she got the huts for the boy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Oh. That's different.
In the mythology, during Ragnarok, the thing that actually kills Thor is Jormungandr. They kill each other.
Right.
Thor, crushes it and smites it down, but then he takes 9 steps and dies from the poison there within. So everybody knows at this point that thing is Jormungandr, that leech, that tapeworm.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of a very baby version of the Kraken from Pirates of the Caribbean. The one that comes up and swallows Jack with the millions of teeth.
Yeesh.
That close up around him.
Yeesh.
This is a baby version of it, just
To me, it reminded me of Marlock from Star Wars. Has the same mouth, but it's basically like a lamprey.
Yeah.
Which is just the grossest option they could have gone for. It doesn't even have eyes or a face. It's just circular teeth. Gross.
Jeg vet ikke hvorfor Thor var en av de mest populære gudene. Kanskje det var på grunn av hammeren hans. Mjolnir. Det mektigste våpenet i hele mytologien. Våpenet som jettene fryktet mest.
So Magna is assessing that Thor was one of the most prominent gods because he had Mjolnir, one of the most prominent weapons that the gods had.
And it's not wrong.
It's not wrong. I can definitely get behind that. The way that I have always seen it is Thor was the god of the people. He was the god of the common man, whereas Odin was the god of kings, essentially. He was kind of like representative of the rulers of the lands. Thor was seen as representing the common folk.
Yeah, and thralls even too.
And thralls, yeah, which is why we believe that he was so prominent in society, because the common men and thralls made up most of society.
Yeah.
99% of
Yeah.
society, in fact. That's why people would wear the Mjolnir, and still kind of do in a certain way for the practitioners of today. And yeah, he was very much just that prominent god that everybody knew and loved and respected and prayed to.
Yeah, absolutely. And he kind of took on that role, and this is where it kind of, in a roundabout way, he took on that role of being a god of the common people because he was seen as their protector directly. Mm-hmm. And what was he protecting them from? He was protecting them from giants and other problems. And what did he protect them with? He protected them with Mjolnir, So,
exactly.
It's so symbolic of what Thor is and what he represents, where it starts to kind of go hand in hand. So I can kind of see where it all kind of reflects on each other and kind of bounces back around to Mjolnir. You know?
Yeah. I just kind of wish they would dive just a little bit deeper into it, just to like explain it a little bit more instead of like Mjolnir.
Yeah, exactly. And at this point, in the mythology with Mjolnir being so prominent, like it absolutely is a direct correlation between that. But also, he was still the protector of mankind and the god of the people before he got Mjolnir. Technically, I think.
Exactly. And I think
there's nothing to say that that's when he started protecting people and doing his thing. He was always like that, but the hammer just helped him do it like tenfold,
Exactly. And I can kind of see why they're focusing on the hammer here, because this is the episode that we get the hammer forged. So it makes sense that, this is what he was writing about as the hammer is about to get forged, or is getting forged, basically.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it would do them some good to also include the whole protector of the people angle of it too, because ultimately his battle with the Jotuns comes down to protecting the people of Edda and Norway and Earth in general, and their drinking water and everything like that. Like it comes down to him being the protector of the world around him, and it is that what is giving Magna that purpose.
Totally.
As he's learning about Thor and as he's learning about what Thor stands for, basically he's trying to emulate that to the best of his abilities. So diving a little bit more into that mindset, I think, would be great for them.
Yeah, and maybe we'll get that more in season 3.
Mm-hmm.
Det derfor jeg med tungt hjerte I dag må meddele at konsekvensen av dette kan vi bli nødt til å stenge ned virksomheten her I Norge. Og flytte produksjonen vår til Asia. Der både arbeidsmarkedet og de lokale myndighetene har mye større forståelse.
Ja, vi reagerer umiddelbart, sånn at ikke de 10 000 nordmennene som jobber for konsernet skal måtte gå rundt og bekymre seg for jobbene sine. Så derfor så har vi bestemt oss for å se på Jotun Industries behov med stor forståelse, slik at de kan sikre driften sin her I Norge.
For a moment, I thought that was literally just going to happen. They were going to shut down the factory and like move it to Asia or whatever, and that's what was going to get the rest of the humans out of the town of Edda, which would open up the playing field for all of the Asir and the Jotnar to sort of just kind of go in and have their battles and everything.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know if that's going to happen now, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think it will.
I don't
currently.
think it will.
Because it would kind of remove the whole point or it would remove the whole aspect of Magna protecting the people. There's no more people there to protect.
That's true.
Yeah, baby.
He's smoking.
Straight through.
Nice. Fjord really should have backed up that car. I'm just gonna say that right now.
Yeah.
Just get out of the way.
He should have backed up or hit the pedal. Like, either one. Go forward or go backwards, but don't just sit there.
I love his face when he sees the hammer.
Yeah, right.
It just goes from just like smug looks, just like, oh shit.
He's bluffing. Oh. I have a lot of regrets all of a sudden. Yeah, that was great.
I love that shot of the hammer going through the car.
Man,
that was so incredibly well done.
For real. That was pretty cool. I was kind of hoping when it came back it would like tear off the top of the car.
I was
like, yeah, do it.
I was hoping that it was just going to come back through the car the same way.
Oh yeah, just like fully rip it in half, but still pretty solid. Straight through the engine into the gas tank and just fucking boom.
Oh my gosh. Ew.
Ruttna som vi växte i. Altså, det er myk og øpler. Og ikke det om i sett. Altså, et la deg her at vinna.
I think it's more going to be he's very much kind of coming into his own, because even at the end when we saw his eyes, that was, you know, part Asir like Magnus was at the end, and then part Jotun like Fjord and Saxa and everybody else's has been. I think it's very much he's kind of on his own team and he's playing both sides against each other. So I think there's a lot of conflict within Laurits as a character, just because like he's been lied to and betrayed and manipulated on the Jotuns and on his own family side. You know, like because Magna, his brother, is supposed to be the one who's like honest and genuine, and he absolutely manipulated Laurits in the end. So like even though Magna's apologetic and wants to protect him and everything, he wasn't. He's going to be very upset when he finds out that while he was getting his ass kicked, Magna was having sex with Saxa of all people, his half sister.
That was so weird.
It was weird, but canonically correct, I guess. So I don't know. I don't think he's got really much love for either side, because, you know, the person he trusted, his brother, Magna, Thor, like, he absolutely thought he had a partnership and an understanding, and then he was completely lied to and betrayed and manipulated. And then on the other side, his other family came to, like, literally kill him and beat the out of him.
Right.
And, like, the only way he was able to survive that was by betraying Magna and offering to help kill him in the end. So I don't think he has much love for either one of them. I think he's very much his own like third party who's just like doing whatever he can to get by and like eventually come out on top.
I mean, I agree and I disagree with that in the way that I agree that he's very much his own party, because Loki as a character, even in Norse mythology, is very much his own party in that respect. But him offering to help kill Magna, I see less as him not... I see that less as him hating Magna and wanting to betray him, and more just trying to save his own skin because he is his own person.
Yeah. Like, I have no idea where they're gonna go with season 3.
Yeah.
Like, they've just released Jormungandr into the fjord there. So, like, is the big final battle gonna be, like, literally a Magna standing, like, in his kitchen, or, like, on the seaport by the ice cream shop, like, fighting off a 20-story tall serpent leech lamprey thing? Like, where is this show going?
You know what I just realized? So aside from the fact, or I guess including the fact that this serpent came from Laurits, but here's the kicker. Laurits just released him into the polluted water that Udal Industries whatever is leaching into. And I think maybe that will give it the kickstart that it needs to like really grow.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
And become its giant monster self.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of an interesting thing too, because with a community like that, there's got to be some kind of like fishing industry as well.
Right.
So now maybe that there's a giant sea monster loose in the waters eating all the fish, maybe that's going to create more issues too.
I think they're getting into the mythology in their own way, in sort of like a modernized way. They're retelling the stories, and I'm really enjoying it, even though it doesn't 100% match up with the mythology. Like how Tyr lost his hand and the forging of Mjolnir isn't quite there, but like it's a very modern way of telling those stories, and I'm really, really liking it. And it kind of reinforces the whole idea that Ragnarok is a cyclical event. That it's not something that just happened or will happen. It's a thing that
Continually happens.
continues to happen almost.
I like that. Cool way to end the show and everything. I liked it a lot.
Yeah. And yeah, we still have a long way to go. There's still a lot that can happen, will happen. I'm really looking forward to seeing all of this kind of tied up, and curious to see what happens.
Yeah, can't wait. Can't wait for season 3. Literally, get on it.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you can be notified of our future videos, and we'll see you in the next one.